7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting of Middleton Plan Commission for September 27th, 2022 to order. And the first item on the agenda is the roll call. Abby.
Bruce,
Here.
Harp,
Here.
Ramsey,
Here.
Slavish,
Here. Sorry.
Erdman Hermans,
I see that she's there.
I see her. She's muted and her hand is raised. Gretchen, can you hear us?
I got it now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
And Schaefer is absent and excused. Brar is present.
Okay, great job, Abby. That's wonderful. Okay, we're going to start with the public hearing at 7 o'clock. The first hearing is the public hearing request for a conditional use permit for a recreational use Kiva Sports 8210 for Cynthia Street. Does anybody wants to speak either for or against this conditional use permit?
It looks like guest has their hand raised.
Okay, please, okay. Guest, please identify yourself, give your address and go ahead. You have 3
Thank
minutes.
you. Cynthia Richardson, Town of Middleton.
All right.
The city zoning ordinance states its intent is to promote the public health, safety, and welfare and to maintain and improve the quality of the community. Kiva Sports Center is requesting a conditional use permit to expand the recreational use that is already permitted on Forsythia Street to also include 8210 Forsythia Street, which we support. However, Kiva Sports Center is on Airport Road immediately adjacent to Maury Airport and its aircraft run-up and runway areas. Each year, Maury Airport operations produce nearly 260,000 pounds of hazardous and fine particulate air pollution, including more than 217 pounds of airborne lead. Recently, the town of Middleton released the final results of the Trinity Consultants Air Sampler Lead Emissions Report for Maury Airport, which is available on the town website. One of the highest concentrations of toxic airborne lead emissions from Maury Airport aircraft using leaded aviation gas is immediately adjacent to the vacant lot in which Kiva seeks to expand. Our concern is for the children and adults using Kiva's outdoor athletic fields and traveling to and from the sports facility that is adjacent to Maury Airport. A recent study found elevated blood lead levels in children whose only contact with a general aviation airport was traveling past it on their way to and from school each day. Lead is a neurotoxicant. A child's exposure to very small amounts of lead can result in significant adverse health impacts, including permanent loss in IQ. Lead exposure is cumulative. Breathing airborne lead is one of the most dangerous ways to be exposed. Healthcare professionals who use Kiva's facilities have publicly expressed their concern about Maury Airport aircraft lead emissions and the threat it poses to the health of the community, particularly children. They stated, quote, "The most concerning impact of lead poisoning is the effect it has on the nervous system, which leads to irreversible neuronal damage. Children who are going through the critical brain development of early life are particularly susceptible to the neuronal damage from lead. Further, lead is absorbed better through the lungs than anywhere else in the body, meaning that we are most vulnerable to lead particles present in the air. The medical guidelines are clear. There is no safe lead level in the body," end quote. The city's recently adopted plan for increased operations and significant expansion of Maury Airport is wholly incompatible with the language and clear intent of the city zoning ordinance to promote the public health, safety, and welfare, and to improve the quality of the community. Your approval of Kiva's request should include a recommendation to the City Council to follow the zoning ordinance intent. Repurpose Maury Airport from a huge pollution site to family housing, green space, wetlands to control stormwater and improve water quality, and into more family-friendly, healthy businesses like Kiva Sports Center that does genuinely serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Is there anyone else who may want to speak at this time? Please raise your hand. Anyone else who want to speak either in favor or against, please raise your hand. So Abby, I don't see any raised hand, do you?
No, I do not.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to close that part of the public hearing. And we are going to go to the next public hearing, which is public hearing number 2. This is the public hearing.
Mayor, can I just say that we didn't receive any other staff comments? I mean, any other comments from the public in writing or by phone? We usually say that as part of the hearing record. So
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say I'm not aware of any statements from the public.
Okay, so thank you, Mark. So no other communications beside this one now. So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, item number 2, public hearing on City of Middleton Comprehensive Plan 2021. Amendment number 1 to modify the future land use map designation for 2 parcels located at 1551 Pleasant View Road. So this is the future this is the amendment to the Middleton's comprehensive plan with respect to the future land use at 2 parcels located at 5051 Pleasant View Road. If there's anyone who wants to speak either for or against it, please raise your hands at this time. Anyone who wants to speak either for or against, or any opinion, or say anything. Okay, this is the public hearing with respect to the City of Middleton Comprehensive Plan 2021. This is amendment number 1 to modify the future land use map designation for 2 parcels is located at 1551 Pleasant View Road. Anybody wants to speak either for or against, raise your hand or just start speaking. Abby, do you see anyone?
No, I do not. And we did not receive any written statements on this one either.
Okay. No written statements and no one is speaking here. So I'm going to close that part of the public hearing. And we move on to the next item. This is the approval of the minutes. This is the approval of the minutes of September 13, 2022. Need a motion to approve.
Ramsey move to approve.
Bruce will second.
Okay, any questions or comments or changes or anything at this time? If you have any questions or comments or anything at this time, I don't see any raised hands or, okay, all those in favor of the approval of the minutes of September 13, 2022, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are on to agenda item. This is item number 1, for which we had the public hearing just now. Request for conditional use permit for Keva Sports 8210 Fusicia Street. With this, Mark, go ahead, please.
Sure, I can give the staff report. I want to also note that Eric Fritz, the owner of Kiva, is present as well, so he may want to hear from him as well.
All right.
So Kiva is requesting this conditional use permit to expand the existing recreational use eastward to the adjoining lot. The adjoining lot measures about 98,000 square feet. It's located in the Airport Road Business Park. It is, of course, then subject to the PDD, the GIP for the Airport Road, the Bruce Company property. It lists the GIP lists recreational facilities as conditional use. That's why you have the hearing before you tonight. We have not yet received any detailed plans, but I did upload to the packet a concept site plan that indicates what they're thinking. There's a couple athletic fields, a potential future building, and an expansion of their parking area. And so that's why this is before you tonight, is for the conditional use permit. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them. And I also have a suggested motion for you in the packet.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Mark or Eric? Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, Mark kind of said it all, but it's just a continual outdoor field expansion that we're looking to have approved.
Okay. So I actually was there only about half hour ago, little over half hour. So this is the east of the, well, you got the building and then you got your soccer team was playing soccer there. So it's east of that one, between that dance academy and that soccer field, right? It
Right.
got a lot of trees and things there, so some rundown buildings. So that's the lot which you were talking about. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so you heard the speaker before, Cynthia Richardson, talk about the leads. Does that concern you?
I don't have a comment on that.
Okay, okay. Anyone else who want to speak at this time, or any other questions or concerns? By the way, we are trying to get unleaded gas at the airport as quickly as possible. So the FAA has approved more than one kind. It just right now it's the question of availability. That means there's a time lag between approval when it's available in commercial levels. I mean commercial scale. So the unleaded gasoline is coming. It just question is how soon it's available. So city is 100% behind getting unleaded gasoline at Middleton Airport, and we are doing every possible thing to make that happen. I'm sure we are almost, well, we must be at the top of the list, asking for the when would be the unleaded gasoline available. So in any case, we are doing, Eric and everyone else, every possible thing to get rid of the leaded gasoline and have unleaded there. Anyone? Yeah.
May I
Yeah, go ahead.
supplement my staff report?
Sure.
Since you're bringing up the issue of the town's lead emissions, and that came up during the hearing, I will simply note that from our review of the study results, the Trinity test results, they indicate that the airborne lead levels that the town study measured are well below the US EPA's National Ambient Air Quality Standard of 0.15. And I don't remember what that unit is. It's a
Microgram.
Yeah, microgram, exactly.
Yeah, so there's only one side, that Dance Academy, there was a one value which was 0.11 something. But then I was looking at some other ports, and I think, anyway, so that's a good input. Elder Ramsey?
Yeah, I just had one question, Mark. In your suggested motion, you have resolution of all city staff recommendations on site landscape and lighting and building plans. If there are building plans, is any of that going to come back to the plan commission? I mean, it sounds like you're asking for authority to. Abby is shaking her head no.
Well, the building,
it
any
has to
sort of
come
building plans will come back as an SIP,
SIP.
modification to the
Okay.
specific implementation plan. So that definitely will be coming back. They wanted, before they invested, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong.
I understand that the wording of your last bullet point was a little different. So that's why I was asking if it was coming back.
Resolution of all city staff recommendations on the site. I guess I could have said future city staff recommendations on the site landscaping, lighting, and building plans. So
it might be a little clear. Anyway, I'll make a motion to approve this with the conditions listed in the staff report.
Slavish will second.
All right, the motion has been made, it has been seconded. Let the discussion begin right now. Please raise your hand if you're for, against, or you just have a comments or anything which you want to say. This is your time. Okay, I do not see any raised hands, and as I said before, city is working very hard to remedy this lead situation. So, okay, all those in favor of the motions for the conditional use permit with all various contingencies, as motion made by Elder Ramsey and seconded by Commissioner Slavish, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Eric, go ahead and start
Thank you.
planning your thing. So,
Thank
and
you.
we will do whatever we can to make sure those kids have a good air to breathe. So,
Yes, yeah, thanks.
it's possible. So, okay, we are on to item number 2 on the agenda. This is the determination of need for sidewalk along north side of the Forsythia Street. Eric, you may have to pay here. I'm just kidding. I was there too. So, Mark.
Yes, well, Eric, that is actually our policy. And I did speak to someone at Kiva last week. I understood you were not available, so I did let them know that this was going to be on the agenda.
Right.
I also let property owners, business owners to the east know as well. This, for some reason, the north side of Forsythia Street was not constructed with a sidewalk when the street went in. We put a sidewalk along Airport Road, but not on the Airport Road side of these businesses, of these lots, but not along Forsythia. And as someone who uses Kiva quite a bit myself, I am well aware of the parking that's happening on the street. And with this expansion, and given that the Caliber collision to the east was asked to put in sidewalks, we felt this would be a good time to determine that there's a need for sidewalk along the entire street segment. And so that's why this is before you tonight. Similar approach as the Murphy Drive and Eagle Drive issue from a couple meetings ago.
Okay, I actually, as I said there, I have visited that place twice. Once it was on Saturday, and then I went there again today. So I did see that there is a sidewalk on the east side of it, fronting 2 businesses. There's a sidewalk along Forsythia, all along the south side of it. But I could not understand that how this segment didn't get done. And I also looked at all along the other streets, they all have sidewalks on both sides. So I did check it out, and Mark is right. There's a part which does not have a sidewalk there. Okay, so let the discussion begin now. What do you think, commissioners? Please raise your hands.
I have some photos in there as well, if you want to look at it, Daphne, if you want to scroll forward. They're there. So in that case, that is to the east of Kiva. There would be some impact on the landscaping there, especially that tree I'm concerned about, but that willow tree. But I don't think there's any way around that. But that's really the main impact of landscaping impact from what I can tell. That's my non-engineering eye.
Yeah, I did count the number of trees, and I looked at the fire hydrant, probably would not be impacted, right?
No, that'd be fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there are a few trees which they're not that big, but they will be impacted. You're absolutely right. So, okay, well, boy, I was hoping somebody would have any questions. Well, Randy Bruce, Randy, you're up, and then Gretchen. So let this discussion begin. Okay, Randy, you start, and Gretchen will follow you.
Okay, very, very good. I don't really have any questions. It just seems to me that the addition of sidewalk here is consistent with our policies, and it's appropriate, particularly given the amount of use that the property gets and the pedestrian traffic along the street.
Okay, Gretchen.
I guess I was going to say similar things, given that it is a business that caters to families and children. We did, as a family, walk through the grass here to get to an event at the airport about a month ago. And as we came back at night, it was a little bit challenging. We didn't want to walk on the street through the traffic, but it was also difficult to navigate the grass in the dark. So I think it would make sense and be consistent with the rest of the development and the policies to encourage more pedestrian connection to our trail system.
Wow, first-hand experience. That's good, Gretchen. So So I have a question for Mark and maybe Abby, that how did it not get done? Why, what was how it got left out?
I don't know, but maybe Eric, you built Kiva, maybe, do you have any
Yeah.
recollection?
Well, that was 23, 24 years ago. My mind is, I really don't remember why. I have no idea why we did or did not, why we did not do it. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer, but I don't.
I'm sure if there was a requirement back then, we would have done it. There probably just wasn't a requirement, and it was undeveloped park at that time. I mean, Eric was one of the first buildings kind of along that stretch, so.
Oh, okay, okay, well, that's how it is, so. Okay, do I have now the motion? Commissioners, this is your time.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So it's Bernie. So the sidewalk that you're asking for is the sidewalk that would go from Kiva, I mean, all the way across the building of Kiva and then his first field and then the second field. That's what he's responsible for, right?
Correct.
I mean, we're not going further to the either direction. Okay,
No,
thank you.
Mr. Blitner would be responsible west of Kiva and then the other property owners to the east.
Thank you for that clarification, Mark.
Okay, any other questions or issues or concern before somebody jumps up here to make a motion? I think it might be Randy who might be interested because she's the one who said that that's the right thing to do. Okay, Randy, go ahead, please. Whatever you want to say or do.
You're on mute, Randy.
You're on mute, Randy.
Yeah, you're muted.
Sorry, Mark, can you put up your recommended motion? Okay, so I recommend to the Common Council that sidewalk be installed along the entire north side of Forsythia Street with the funding assessed consistent with section 8.03 of city ordinances.
Thank you, Randy. Now let's have a second.
Erdman Herman, second.
Okay, so you don't want to go walk through the grass again the same way. All right. Now let the discussion begin. Anybody has anything for or against or in between or anywhere? Okay, if there are no more comments or question or concern, all those in favor of the motion to recommend to the Common Council that sidewalk be installed along the entire north side of the Forsythia Street with the funding assessed consistent with section 8.03 of city ordinances, say aye.
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 Okay.
And all those opposed. Okay, well, motion passes unanimously. We are on to item number 3. This is the resolution 2022-49. Plan Commission resolution to modify the future land use map designation for 2 parcels, which is the Greenway Center lots 3 and 4 at 1551 Pleasant View Road. Abby.
Yes, so at the July Plan Commission meeting, July 26th, the commission directed staff to prepare this first amendment to the city's 2021 comprehensive plan. This is related just to these 2 parcels on Pleasant View Road. They were previously in the comprehensive plan, the currently approved plan. They're designated as business park use. They have never developed as business park. And of course, we know that the office park environment has been heavily impacted by the pandemic and work from home arrangements. Our recommendation at this time is to modify the future land use map to an urban mixed use category that would allow residential on the site. This is the reason that these were originally shown as business park is because they already were under the planned development district zoning for Greenway Center. And that is primarily business uses, but we have begun to see some interest in infilling housing in this area. And there is a lot of really good reasons to do that, primarily to enable people to work closer to their office, to create more of a mixed use environment. And so our staff is supportive of that. We have included a draft resolution in your packet. The mechanism that a flu map change must take place with is a resolution from the Plan Commission, and then it would be an ordinance change at the council. So our recommendation is to approve resolution 2022-49.
Okay. Do I have any questions or comments from the commissioners? Any questions or comments from the commissioner? This is the modifying the First Amendment. Boy, that is pretty impressive, Abby. So First Amendment to the future land use map. Well, if there are no questions, then let's somebody make a motion.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about just the committee members. I'm just a person.
Oh. No, this is for the commissioners now. So
Okay.
this is,
Sorry, I don't know all the rules yet.
no, it's okay. Do you want to, do you have some, well, it won't be proper for me to ask you to,
Right. Just
so if there is something that you want to share quickly, of course.
so this is just to change the zoning a little bit, right? This isn't to approve the plans for those buildings.
Mayor, we had a hearing on this already. Are you allowing
Yeah,
comment now outside the
okay.
hearing?
Well, all right, I apologize. We had a public hearing. You had plenty of opportunity to speak at that time. Yes. It's okay. So need a motion from the commissioners. So I
Ramsey will move to approve resolution 2022-49.
49. Okay. Need a second.
Slavish will second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Only from the commissioners. Only from the commissioners. Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay. If there are no questions or comments, all those in favor of approving the resolution 2022-49. This is the Plan Commission resolution to modify the future land use map designation for 2 parcels on Greenway Center lots 3 and 4, 1551 Pleasant View Road. Say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. All right. we move
Mayor,
on to
we are recording Randy Bruce as having abstained. He indicated that before the meeting. I don't know if that was said during this discussion, but I wanted to make sure that was part of the record.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
to the 3 and 4, right? And then to the individual who was trying to speak, you are allowed to speak at the Common Council meeting when that comes before the council, or when it's at the beginning of the meeting. Comments from citizens present would be a time where you could speak.
Do you have a date for that? What day? When?
Okay. So Mark will send you that. Well,
Is it next Tuesday, Abby, or not?
It
That's
likely will be Tuesday, October 4th. The meeting starts at 7:30 p.m. However, that is pending getting our attorney to approve our draft ordinance amendment. The latest that it would appear before the Common Council would be at their second meeting in October, which is the 3rd Thursday of the month. So that would, or I'm sorry, the 3rd Tuesday of the month. So that would be October 18th at 7:30 p.m. And
Thank you.
Just as a point of clarification on this item. So best practice in planning is for rezoning requests to be consistent with the city's future land use map. And so that's why we're going through the process to amend the future land use map. There is actually not a legal requirement that rezonings are consistent with the future land use map. There is a legal requirement that a city's zoning ordinance is consistent, but for an individual parcel rezoning, it's not a requirement, but it is best practice. And so that's why we're going through this future land use map change. This does not enact rezoning of the property. However, the rezoning of the property is the next item on the agenda, which is the GIP, the General Implementation Plan.
Thank you.
That was very helpful. Okay. We are on to item number 4, and Randy Bruce is abstaining on this one as well as he did in the last one. And this is the rezoning to Planned Development District, PDD, General Implementation Plan. This is the Greenway Center lots 3 and 4, 1551 Pleasant View Road. Abby.
Yes, so the original Plan Commission agenda that was sent out included all of the staff comments that were included on the 7/26 meeting agenda. And initially, we were recommending deferral of this item because we were waiting to speak with our colleagues in the Public Lands Department in particular to make sure that they felt that their committees and commissions had enough of a chance at this point to weigh in on the recommendation regarding the land swap. So that's trading a small piece of city property for a small piece of private property. And the piece that we would be trading would be conservancy land. We would enter into an agreement that the developer would need to maintain that as public space and would be looking to actually make some improvements to the property. So I didn't want to get ahead of our colleagues in the Public Lands Department, which is why I wasn't at the time we released the agenda, wasn't ready to make a recommendation to approve the GIP. However, we've conferred with them. The Conservancy Lands Commission was unanimously supportive of this trade, and the Parks Board decided to defer action to wait to hear from the Conservancy Lands Board. So PRFC hasn't taken this up for a second time yet, but my staff recommendation, which was revised and sent out today to the commissioners, published on base and sent on Notify Me, is to recommend approval of the GIP with the same contingencies that were listed in the original recommended list from the 7/26 agenda, but adding a contingency that the Common Council would need to approve the amendment to the flu map, because that requires both Plan Commission action, which took place at your last item, as well as the Common Council approval of an ordinance change. And then also to direct staff to work with the developer on a legal description and draft an agreement for the trade of city-owned property. And their attorney has already reached out and is interested in working with the city on this. We would need a CSM to combine the lots. We spoke a lot about concerns over impact to adjacent properties, particularly PPD, the city's largest employer. And I've included some conditions in here that we would need to see satisfied before we go on to approve a specific implementation plan. Our staff is really very supportive of this proposal. We think that it has much less of a visual impact. That was one of the concerns that we had with the previous proposal, is the impact on the view shed, particularly from the Pleasant View Golf Course. I do want to note, though, that the Pleasant View Golf Course Committee still has concerns about the view shed. They also have expressed concerns about possibility for trespassing on the golf course. So Daphne's kind of highlighting some of the view shed renderings that we have, that the developer has submitted and that the golf course committee has reviewed. We will have more units under this proposal, and so we need to update the city's traffic impact analysis and modeling. That will be done at the expense of the developer. And we've also included a contingency for resolution of engineering staff recommendations. And I think that those are the only points that I would like to highlight. There are several representatives of the project on the line as well to answer questions.
Okay, do they want to make any presentation or not?
Dwayne, did you all want to give any kind of presentation or?
No, we were not planning on doing a presentation, but we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, all right. Well, I will begin. I think we have been working on this for a while. So I just made a list of the concerns which we had. As Abby said, PPD is and would always be number one because they are our largest employers. So we will coordinate with them and make sure that, if there are any geotechnical or any of those issues, they will be addressed. So they are aware of it. The second was golf. And as Abby said, this golf committee has looked at the view shed analysis. It's not a 14-story building. So it is a 8-story building. So it does make a difference. And it's also not one monolith building. There are 3 different buildings. So that makes a difference too. So it's still, I don't think they're perfectly happy with this, but it certainly is a lot better than what was there before. And I looked at this view shed analysis a few times today, and it is, from the golf as well as from, the other parts of the Greenway station. So it is, it is more acceptable than what was before. And now the golf committee was concerned about people walking on the golf course. But on the other hand, you would think that who will be living in these high-end apartments? Well, they probably would want to play golf there. So I think, they will get a lot of clients. But the issue that there will be more people, I guess that will be with any building, not just this building. But I can understand their concerns, but we will have to deal with this. And the third was neighborhood. And so the apartments and condos, they did have valid concern in the past. So I think you had neighborhood meetings and their concerns were listened to. And compared to what was there before, the water is not going to their side. The water is actually going to be, water and sewer is going to go along the Pleasant View Road. So that does make a big difference. And the bigger issue is stormwater. So I think it has gone to the Stormwater Water Sources Management Commission. And I think I will let them address that issue, and that will come back later as well. And then the land swap, and Abby said that it's worked out. So that's a good thing. And for me, the play structures, playgrounds, I like building communities. I like, the kids doing something for our next generation. That's very important. And you have it. Look at this young man here. He's jumping there and ready to go to elementary school. I think it's good. So something which we talked about, and I think you guys could be a leader here. That is, you are building the community center, community rooms, and they will be all combined, but having a learning center where the kids and the grown-ups, they can all come, and there are some books and there are some other, I don't really know. You would be the leader to develop this sort of concept that when you have this size of the building that has some sort of a learning center. We have the library, but we can't have library everywhere. So I will let you think about it. So I have some thoughts about it too, but creating a learning center is very, very important for the generation to come. And that would, if you are the pioneer, that will hugely increase the value of their property. And you will be recognized in all the publications and everywhere that you were the one to do it. So I think, so it will be part of the community rooms. They're just putting some more facilities there. And the one thing which I think the others have had concerns too, there's one entrance, and I can see that you have the Pleasant View Road will be a 4-lane highway. So you can't have too many entrances there. So, but as long as if there's a if there's something really, I hope we don't have anything big. So somehow that is, if somehow that's addressed. I know we have a walkway there, and anyway, so we will see how it will look like once the Pleasant View Road goes down 15 feet. So it's going to be looking quite different. That may not be an issue, but that is, those were some of the points which I thought about and wrote it down, and let the other commissioners begin, and please raise your hands. And if anybody, the developer wants to address any of these or just make a note of it, that's good enough. So some of them are already addressed in any case, so. And as Abby said, so we had the TIA for 210 units. These are 367. So there will be a new TIA, and yeah, anyway, I will be just repeating those things. So, and I like green roof, but yes. So that's great. Please, commissioners. Oh, all right. Elder Ramsey and then Mike Slavish. Please go ahead.
As this is obviously, we're very concerned with blasting. One of the conditions is the city hiring a geotechnical engineer. That geotechnical engineer that will work on behalf of the city to review the project is paid by.
That's a great question. I think I mentioned it when it came forward in July. My recommendation would be that the city cover the costs for that. And the reason is that this is a very large project with over 300 units within TIF District 3, and this project is not requesting any TIF assistance. So I would recommend that if we're taking that additional step and placing a new requirement on a project that we wouldn't typically require, and it's within the TIF district, that we would use TIF District 3 funding to cover those costs.
Which of course would go to finance and council. Then you'd how you would ask for proposals, or?
Yeah, we would have to get proposals. We have a few geotechnical firms that are under contract by Public Works to do periodic reviews, but this would be a larger study, I would anticipate. And so it is something that we would have to bring forward to get authorization for funding.
So one of the questions when we get to that point will be is it, you speak of TIF, and I don't want to get off track, but is it a TIF eligible expense then for the city?
Yeah, I would think that it would be, because it's a professional service that would be hiring, and it's directly related to creating increment within the TIF district.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that I talked with Bill Burns, our finance director, about this as well before I brought it forward previously, and I believe that he also authorized that he thought it would be.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Elder Ramsey?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, excellent points. Commissioner Mike Slavish.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously, for those of us who've been on the planning commission a while, we have talked about this project at great lengths, and there have been a lot of concerns, and I believe staff has done a great job of identifying those things, those questions that remain that still need to be addressed, working with the developer and their service providers. And, you know, based on that, I would recommend that we approve the GIP, subject to the contingencies outlined in the staff report. And I believe there are 11 here. 11 that I believe is a comprehensive list of the concerns that have been raised by many of us, you know, over the last two proposals that have been brought forth for the redevelopment of this site.
Okay, need a second. Need a second.
Ramsey, a second.
Okay, let the discussion begin now. So Abby, the finer details like, you know, learning center and other things, they can come in at SIP level, right?
That's correct. Yep. And we'll see the plans for the green space. We'll have the agreement worked out for the use of land. All of that will come forward along with the CSM. at the
And having the easement for that our paths there, so which is.
Yep.
Okay. And then, you know, developing Oaks one and those things. Okay, any other questions or comments at this time? Any other questions or comments at this time? Final chance, any other questions or comments? If there are no other questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion to approve the GIP with 11 conditions or recommendations there, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Wow, we are done with that part there, and let's move on to the next item, which is the design review of the Goban Cars 3415 Parliamentary Street. Daphne, I was there too. I looked at this building. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so the applicant is just proposing changing, updating their colors and storefront for this building, specifically on the west and the south elevation. So the parts facing Century and Parmenter. When we did a review of this site, we saw that, in 2009, they had expanded their parking lot on the north end. And with that, they had to update their landscaping, but a lot of it was missing or, just not planted. So as a contingency of this, we were saying to, approve it contingent on engineering staff comments and installing that landscaping that was required in 2009.
All right. So these colors, this red and white and sort of orangish, they look awesome, isn't it? So if you have gone and looked at that building, now there's even some of the wood shuttered areas, and well, it looks nice, I must say, but there was a couple of places where there appears to be just plywood there. So I think, I like what the new design looks like. And but do we have the applicant here? Why is that landscape missing? Do we have the Abby or Mark, or do we have the applicant here?
Yep.
Please identify yourself and provide us some, what happened?
I can't speak for the existing landscaping as it stands. It was done back in 2009, approved by a previous architect. We're just taking the project up now.
So the landscape was put in place, it just somehow didn't get taken care of, or something happened?
Correct.
Or what?
Correct.
Okay. So now you want to make sure that going forward, that landscape will be put in place, right?
We'll have to talk with the owner and make sure that they take care of it.
And the owner is not on the call, or is?
No, he is not. Nope.
Okay. Okay, well, so how do we want to handle it now?
Mayor, could we just have the speaker's name for the record, please?
Oh, Ron Dorsch.
How do you spell your last name?
Dorsch.
Thank you.
Okay. And
According to the recommended motion, in order for them to get the new facade, they'd have to install what they were supposed to in 2009. Is that a correct reading of this?
Yes.
and that will be adequate for you? I mean, what that you looked at that plan and you're quite happy with that, or you want to add anything or delete anything to that?
I just want them to do what they agreed to in 2009.
Yeah, we all do. I mean, it's
So
it is.
I think it's appropriate that their new facade is contingent upon fulfilling their prior obligations.
Okay. Okay, so any other questions or comments before someone makes the motion? Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Okay, so do I have a motion then?
Ramsey will move approval with those conditions, installation, engineering staff comments and highlighted installation and continued maintenance of 2009 landscaping, agreed upon 2009 landscaping. I'd like that to be the way it's worded.
Thank you, Elder Ramsey. Need a second. I think Chris is ready to second it.
Harp second.
Okay, all right.
So the way I have the motion then is contingent on resolution of the engineering staff recommendations and installation and continued maintenance of the previously agreed upon 2009 landscaping plan.
Yes, please.
Or landscaping, yep.
Okay. Well, the yeah, new colors and all, they look good, but we want to make sure that they do what was agreed to. So, and they keep maintaining it too. So, okay, Erdman, Herman, Gretchen, go ahead. Gretchen.
I'm curious if the cement barricade is consistent with the ordinance we have for screening, or if that needs to be addressed. Maybe Abby could let us know.
Those will be removed.
Okay, those will be removed. Gretchen. Okay, any further?
Those were not on the original approved plans either.
Okay, so Elder Ramsey, do you want to make that part of the motion, or staff can handle it at the staff level?
Well, since we're at it, we might as well make it part of the motion then, if it wasn't part of the originally approved plan.
Okay, 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 all right. So that is part of the motion. So any.
And since we're visiting it, and Gretchen brought up the question, which is a good question, is there, with the use that's there going to be, should there be some screening?
Typically, all parking lots require landscaping screening from the street. This is.
I don't know what the I don't know what the 2009 landscaping plan was, but was that there was landscaping screening, or?
There was
doesn't really
definitely
look like it.
There were at least plantings on all sides of the property, which is why when I went out there and began looking at what was on the site, I was really surprised by how little from the original approval was on site, which led me to believe that it was never installed. And Ron has heard my concerns by phone now a couple of times, and I don't want to shoot the messenger because he's been brought into the picture a little bit later to try to get them through the approval for the new design. But yeah, there were quite a few things on site that were different from what was previously approved.
Well, we might want to make sure that that doesn't happen now. So.
Do you have a comprehensive list of what's different from? I guess I made a motion based on that they would take care of specifically the landscape, but I guess I have pause if you say there's several conditions that haven't been addressed or met in the original approved plan. That it gives me pause to make a motion to give somebody permission to start changing things when they haven't lived up to their original agreement.
Yep, if you look at the landscaping plan, you can see like the larger canopy trees. That was basically the only landscaping that I found to be compliant with the original approved plan. All of the rest of the lower level plantings, none of those appeared to have ever been installed. It's possible that they were installed and died off, but it didn't look like there was any evidence that they were ever installed. And then the other major change was that line of barricades. that was lining the site, that was not on the originally approved plans either.
Okay, well, I'm decidedly uncomfortable now with my motion, so I think that maybe I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but I think maybe we need some more information on how this was. I think maybe we need a comprehensive list of what needs to be brought up to what was the original agreement. So I'm going to change my motion to a deferral to give staff time to go over with the applicant whatever agreement that they had that hasn't been lived up to, and how do we bring it to the point that it's current. And then we can look at this sign package or this facade package. So I'm going to make a move to defer to give staff time to work with the applicant.
Okay. Is that okay with you? Second, Chris Harp, that
Harp
you
will
also
second.
go with, okay, with the deferral. Okay, that is, do we have any honor isn't here, but does the speaker have any comments? I guess that's how it is. So, okay, the motion is to defer it. So all those in favor of the motion to defer the design and review of Goban Car 3415 Parmenter Street, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right. So Abby, you will deal with them. You will talk to them. I mean, we just have some concerns. It's not that we don't like them. We do like them, but it's just something fell through the cracks. So we want to make sure that it's fixed and it doesn't happen again. So.
Yep.
I mean, we are, we are with them. So. Okay, now there's a big item number 6. I don't know whether we can vote for this one now. This is the sign design review of all the places, Stonehorse Green, Donor Wall, 7550 Hubbard Avenue. Abby, what is this now? Let's see about it.
So this is the donor gallery wall that Daphne has spent a whole lot of time laying out over the last few weeks. And we are recommending approval. It is consistent with the city's sign code. It's a little bit undersized, even just based on the facade length of the band shell. We are hoping we will not have the final version of this ready in time for the grand opening of the Stonehorse Green, which is next weekend. But we would like to get a full scale printed version that will look really nice, probably on foam core. That will be ready to display at the site, where we're inviting all of the many people who contributed funds and helped to support the project.
Wow, it should be a big event, Abby, I think.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Daphne and I are going to be able to sleep sometime after next weekend, so we're looking.
Well, I will put in my schedule, Abby, so.
Yeah,
okay,
you're going to be there, so.
Any questions or comments? Otherwise, I can make a motion for the sign design and review of Stonehorse Green, Donor Wall, 7550 Hubbard Avenue. Need a second.
Harp will second.
All right, second by Chris Harp. Any questions or comments? Any minor, finer, or, well, this should be a lot bigger, so I'm just kidding, Abby. So, okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the sign design review for Stonehorse Green, Donor Wall, 7550 Hubbard Avenue, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are on to item number 7, getting close to the end now. This is the staff resolution 2022-48, adopting of a complete street policy. I wonder who likes the complete streets. Let me make a guess. So who's going to take it now? Is it going to be Mark or Abby or?
Yes, I've been working on this, Mayor.
Okay. I was just joking, Mark. So go
Oh,
ahead.
that's all right. We are
Sometimes-
all advocates for complete streets among our
Yeah.
staff. I just happen to be assigned to this one. So this has been an ongoing project for quite some time. This policy you first saw, I think it was in June. And since then, I overhauled it to have the organization reflect model language that was advocated by Smart Growth America and adopted by various communities, including Cleveland Heights, Ohio, which had headings that I specifically copied for this ordinance, or for this resolution, for this policy statement. And I've took that revised policy through the Ped Bike Transit Committee, Sustainability Committee, and then last night, the Public Works Committee. What's in your packet, what's on the screen right now, is the revised resolution that I sent you today, which incorporates the comments from last night's Public Works Committee meeting. So the changes are highlighted with the markup text. A very minor change here, instead of saying frequent, it says closely spaced. What I really wanted to focus on was really the highlighted sections, because there's some differences of opinion between committees, and I wanted to call those to your attention and get your feedback specifically on those. But of course, I welcome comments on any part of the resolution and the exhibit. So that's my overview. Would you like me just to focus on those highlighted areas first and then invite other comments, Mayor?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, Mark.
Okay.
But by the way, we don't copy anybody, Cleveland or anyone's headings. I mean, Middleton is regional. We got innovators here, and we are top notch, right?
Well,
We are the pioneers.
sure, I'll
Mark,
say
aren't
sure.
we?
There's nothing
We are-
wrong with copying good ideas and claiming them as your own, but I do give credit for when there's good ideas elsewhere.
I thought we were a lot better than some Cleveland. Well,
If
anyway.
you'd like to come up with other headings, Mayor, I'm all ears. So,
No.
So why don't
Yes,
you
good.
scroll to the next page, Daphne, please? So this, actually, I do want to mention this briefly. This, quite frankly, has become quite convoluted, and I would actually welcome your feedback on this last be it resolved clause. This talks about exceptions to the policy, and it's now written to indicate that the Common Council makes that, the buck stops with the council, which is appropriate. But it says in consultation with Public Works Director, Planning Community Development Director, the City Administrator, and then three committees. It seems to me to be getting rather unwieldy. So my question for you is, are you comfortable with that being the department heads, or would you like the council to also confer or first refer this matter to those committees as listed? That's, I guess, one area where I would like some feedback.
Oh, I think it doesn't hurt when you're dealing with, you're wanting something complete and you're talking about streets. I think it affects all 23,000 people in this city. So having common council isn't really such a bad idea.
No,
Personally.
the Common Council is great. I have no concern with that change. It's the collaboration with all the 6 other groups listed here. There's 3 department directors and 3 committees. And the reason why I'm flagging it is because the 3rd bullet point talks about a project being considered an emergency repair or routine maintenance. And I just was thinking it might be weeks and weeks of referrals before it got to the council. So that was the only reason why I flagged it. If you want to keep it the way it is, I don't mind it. I just wanted to flag that for you.
Now, this is not from Cleveland, right? This is something.
No, some of these ideas are based on, I got a lot of these, a lot of this is original work, but it's informed by my review of several policies from Wisconsin, as well as Cleveland Heights, Ohio, whose policy statement is held in high regard nationally. So it's a variety of sources, and it's gotten to the point where I couldn't even tell you who said what anymore. It's because it's been adapted by, there's been so much editing. But the language here is unique to the city. And
Okay.
yeah, I think I think where this idea first came from, it's instead of saying common council, before that said city administrator, I think the community, wherever I saw this first, it said the city engineer. So I elevated that to the administrator, and now based on discussion last night, they felt it would be more appropriately common council, and I would have to agree with that.
Okay. Well, let's hear from the commissioners. So I think, please raise your hand. So it is a big thing. You are talking about the complete street policy here. So I know we have looked at it in the past. I don't remember exactly.
Frankly, it's more your feedback and Alder Ramsey. I mean, I welcome feedback from everybody, but the two of you serve on the council. And if you don't think this is unwieldy, we can keep it as is and focus on other matters. I just wanted to see what Dan and you thought in particular, Mayor.
Okay, let's hear. Gretchen's hand is up. Gretchen, go
Okay,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Let's give everybody a chance.
Sharing. When it says in consultation, it doesn't sound absolutely necessary. Could perhaps a word be included, like in consultation when necessary or when recommended, and then it wouldn't be absolutely necessary for the Common Council to confer with all of these commissions, you know, in the instance of an emergency repair or routine maintenance, but they would have that option when that appeared to help the project.
Good point, Gretchen. So mostly when there's a routine thing, I think the city engineer, they take care of it. So I haven't really, it hasn't come to the, once the Common Council approves that 5-year plan and then yearly plan, then it's really up to the city engineer and the staff. So, well, do I have any input from other commissioners? Otherwise, what do you want us to do with this one? This is a.
If there's no disagreement with that addition, I will add that, and then the council can, you know, if there's no one objecting to it, I think it'd be easiest just to move on, unless there's anyone who has objections. It might be, otherwise this is going to take a lot longer.
Yeah, it is a little unyielding, Mark, but we can deal with that at council. The only thing that I think definitely has to stay in is finance committee.
Yeah,
but we can deal with this language later.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm trying not to have a big discussion at council either, but that's why I wanted your feedback here, Dan. You obviously participated in the meeting last night as well. So how do you feel about how this reads after last night's discussion?
I think it reads better after the input from last.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then
let's get everybody
else's
viewpoint on it.
Okay. Is Gretchen still has her hand up?
yes, Gretchen, you have more to, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, you could even make the language in consultation with other administrators, departments, or commissions as deemed necessary, and then like eliminate the list.
Okay. So where are we now? Elder Ramsey, Mark, what do you want to do with this now? So.
It's not that huge of a big deal to me. The only thing I want to make sure is that I think the finance committee needs to be listed because that's where the buck stops. And
I would recommend, I think the when necessary, and then listing the groups that have a direct stake. I think there's no harm in that. I appreciate the suggestion though, Gretchen.
And I agree with Elder Ramsey, it should go to the finance committee, no question about it.
Yeah, and that's on the list. So.
Oh, that is okay.
Let's go to.
I just didn't want to eliminate it.
Understood. Let's go to the next page, please. I think we can. Oh, okay, yeah. So this at the top under B, I think, Dan, if it's safe to say that the committee yesterday, the Public Works Committee felt there was too much there. They wanted it simplified. And
correct.
So the language at the top, the underlined part in B is what I synthesized from what was stricken out. I guess I would welcome specifically, Dan, your feedback, and then also anyone else Hopefully you can still read what was stricken out. Otherwise, the other copy of the resolution's in your packet as well. So just, is this an improvement, I guess, is the question I have.
Elder Ramsey,
Yeah, I think that was a good change, Mark.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else have any heartburn over the items that were stricken?
well, it's hard to really read, so it's, I guess.
Well, it was, yeah, I had the original in the packet too, but
Yeah. Yes.
okay. There you go. Thank you. So Eustace, well, I'm not going to read it.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, this looks a lot better, so.
Okay, thank you. Under number 2, those changes are also recommended by the Public Works Committee. There was I guess I'll say a contrary viewpoint expressed at the meeting, a concern, let's say, from at least one of the committee members, concerned that we were de-emphasizing automobile use and freight vehicles too much. And that led to consensus, I think is a safe way to characterize it, to remove the words in a sequence and also strike the words the most vulnerable. So that's the origin of why those words are stricken.
And that's okay. That
Okay.
sounds good.
Then the next one's not really a substantive change. So let's go on to the next page, please. In fact, this is the same change as before. We don't need to, we discussed this already previously, so I think we can move on. The next one is, yeah, so I removed, this was what's stricken here. It said the city should also pursue measures to mitigate the urban heat island effect of dark asphalt. That language was actually added by the Sustainability Committee a week ago, and last night the Public Works Committee recommended it be deleted. So this is an area where I guess I would see if anyone has any concern about it not being part of the resolution or the exhibit.
Well, the question is, there's one thing to say and quite another thing to do to mitigate the urban heat island effect.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no problem with
It came down to and it can be something that's debated at council if you wish, but it came down to a huge cost difference at this point in time, to the point where you need to be somewhat careful that you don't eliminate your opportunity to do projects because you price yourself out.
Yeah. And there was also a discussion about this being, I had incorporated based again on reviewing other communities which informed this revision. I had tried to incorporate some green streets language. Some communities have adopted a complete and green streets policy statement. So I think some of the feedback I got from the Public Works Committee was to focus more on traditional complete streets without the environmental aspect as much, and focus more on pedestrian and safety for humans, and have that be the focus. Dan, if I'm summarizing that accurately.
That is a very accurate summary of what I felt.
Yep. And Randy has his hands up, Mayor.
Go ahead, please. Randy, go ahead.
Dan, you mentioned that the addition of the use of trees and paint would increase costs significantly, and how is that determined?
No, the addition of it wasn't the trees and the paint, so it was more the concrete.
I see. Okay.
Concrete was what the issue was. It wasn't the trees and the paint.
Okay.
So what was, could you develop this a little bit? What is the concrete issue?
Well, the concrete issue, frankly, is what I stated before, is that there's a huge cost difference. And while I certainly, and I said this at Public Works last night, where I certainly understand that blacktop is going to create more heat. And this would be certainly more of an issue that we would have to, figure out how to deal with if we were in Phoenix, but we're not in Phoenix. And if we state that we have to use concrete in every one of our projects, it's going to be cost prohibitive and the number of our projects can go down. So I didn't feel as though that that was an appropriate thing to lock us into.
And then the
Okay.
other thing that Sean said was that when they do utility repairs beneath streets, it's much more difficult and expensive to replace concrete, to patch concrete than it is asphalt. So that was another component to it.
Okay, it's the concrete versus the asphalt. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and concrete these days is costing quite a bit more. Apparently it's in shorter
Yeah.
supply than asphalt.
Well, as you see on the University Avenue, the concrete is being replaced by asphalt, so. In Madison, so.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
So,
Mhm.
so what's the pleasure of the commission about this language? What's your preference? And Gretchen, I think, has her hands up.
Yeah, Gretchen, go ahead, please.
I prefer the less specific language. You already close with minimizing environmental
Yep.
impact. And that makes the document more durable into the future for, the needs of the time, the materials that are available, the costs, and the location and situation. I prefer it this way.
Okay. Anyone else? Otherwise, well, so we need.
Thank you. That's good. And then the next section, there was a sentence also removed above the highlighted one above. I'm sorry, number 7. There it is. Dan, my understanding from last night's meeting was to just delete this sentence altogether, that unintended consequences such as involuntary displacement, which shall be avoided when possible or addressed with equity and fairness to the affected party.
Yeah.
Which I believe that we already do, and we have stringent eminent domain laws that we obviously have to comply with and are more than happy to comply with as a city. We want to treat everybody fairly. So I did not see this as a necessity.
Okay.
I agree. I don't think there's a need there. So.
I don't see any hands, so we'll move on to performance measures. This one, only 2 of the last 3 should be highlighted. Numbers 8 and 9, Public Works Committee recommended deleting those from the list. Number 10, I had misunderstood, and so this morning I checked my notes and what Sean Stowski wrote in the minutes, and number 10 should still be part of this. I highlighted this here because I wasn't comfortable striking it until I had your input as well.
Okay, does anybody, well, Dan, Ramsey, you were there, so anything?
And I'm trying to remember our conversation on these 2 items, 8 and 9.
Dan, I think it was about, well, the stormwater one is easy because there was a concern about staffing resources, I think, with keeping track of aerial coverage, area extent. Also, that stormwater was not so much street oriented, but more of the environmental impact. I think that was where that discussion came from.
Yep, I recall that now.
Yeah, and the surface parking lot also related to green space and stormwater. I think I think it was just considered to be unwieldy from a staff tracking standpoint. That was my sense of the discussion.
And that is the way I remember it to be.
Okay, so no problem deleting them. So, okay.
But 10 will remain. There was some discussion about that, but I think the consensus was, and I think it's important, frankly, to keep number 10 in there, just to make sure that everyone in Middleton is included in our Complete Streets program. That's all I had for substantive changes. I leave it to you to forward a recommendation on any other changes you'd like to see. I would like to take this to the council this coming Tuesday, Mayor and Dan.
Okay, so Dan, you were there. So what is your wish?
Well, I am comfortable, but I've participated from both the Public Works and a Plan Commission. So, but I'm comfortable from all the discussions and edits that this has gone through to recommend approval to the Common Council. But I guess my question would be, how does anybody else on the Plan Commission feel? I mean, like I say, I've gotten a couple more bites at this than everybody else has.
Okay, let there be the input from the Plan Commission commissioners. Commissioners, let your input begin. Chris, how do you feel about it? Chris Hart,
It looks fine to me.
Randy Bruce,
I agree. I think it's a good policy, and I'm in support.
Mike Slavish.
Me as well, Mayor.
Okay, all right. So we already heard from Gretchen. So somebody's going to make a motion, it looks like now. So to send it to the Finance Committee and the Plan Commission, to the City Council.
Did you want it to go to Finance Committee specifically?
Well, didn't I hear that it should go to the Finance Committee to get, because
No, that was discussion, discussions and exemptions. This, I don't see, this does not have a specific
Right.
finance
component here. So,
component
okay,
to it. It's a policy. So I think we can bypass finance and go to council.
all right. So you are ready to make a motion then, or something like
If
that?
no one else is interested in making a motion, yes.
All right.
I
Wow.
will make a motion to recommend approval to the council.
Has agreed to make a motion. So I wonder if there's a second coming very soon.
Erdman Hermans, I'll second. Great job.
Okay.
guys. Good work.
Now let's begin the discussion here, further discussion. Okay, if there is no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to send it to the City Council, say aye.
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 All those opposed at this time? I don't hear anyone opposed. Now, who has the top stories to tell from your whole week or 2 weeks? Everybody had great time, right? Well, otherwise need a motion to adjourn. So,
Bruce will move to adjourn.
all right.
Slavish will second.
All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Well, thank you. Well, we are adjourned. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great job, everyone. And thank you, Abby and Daphne and Mark.
Did
Have
we,
an awesome evening.
did we
Okay.
decide to meet by Zoom next time?
No,
Mark-
I would say that let's meet that in person, should we not?
Well, Mark had sent out an email, just letting folks know that we have at least 2 commission members that cannot meet if we meet strictly Zoom at the next meeting. So I was just giving everyone else a chance to reply back, to be sure that we would have a quorum. We did have at least 1 member who prefers staying remote on Zoom. There were a couple of members who I couldn't firmly put in one category or the other, because it sounded like a couple of you really preferred hybrid, which I think everybody prefers to go to hybrid, but we don't have the technology in place. And so it wasn't clear. I couldn't clearly put you hybrid or in person for the next meeting. A couple of you.
So all of those who are ready for in person, have your thumbs up.
As I spoke to Abby earlier today, I am not available October 11th to be in person. I told her that I could participate by Zoom, but I will not be available if we are in person.
Yeah, Abby and I, October 11th, I will not be available either in person or by Zoom.
Okay, so let's go to the next second meeting in October in person, and let there be by Zoom this month, Abby.
Okay, so go back to in person for October 25th.
Is everybody happy with that? Because one more meeting of where you don't have to be ready for the meeting, right? So,
And Mark and Daphne, just as a reminder, that's the meeting that I have to miss. It's my son's birthday. So you two would be staffing the first in-person meeting.
Okay, and it will not be hybrid, so that means anybody who wants to participate will have to be here in person, and we aren't sure yet if that's going to be televised or is it going to be recorded or not, Abby?
We would have to get Moonstruck Media here to record.
okay,
Are there any public hearings scheduled for the 25th?
There are not.
And
okay, well,
Abby, I will not be there for that meeting. I am out of town that day, just FYI.
Okay. Does everybody else besides me and Mike think that you'll be there on the 25th? At least as far as you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think everybody's, look at their smile, they're happy and they will be, so, okay. Well, all right, unless we have any further discussion, now we are adjourned, we can discuss anything, so.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
All right,
Okay,
good night
well,
all.
thank you and good night.